You need to hear this if you're concerned about online security. Welcome back to Index Cyber, where we break down cybersecurity threats in a way that actually makes sense. Today, we're diving into a sneaky little vulnerability that can cause massive damage: Path Traversal. Let's get into it. In the digital age, data is king. Businesses and individuals alike rely on intricate systems to store and manage sensitive information. Yet, behind the facade of sophisticated code and complex algorithms lies a vulnerability as simple as it is dangerous: Path Traversal. This security flaw, often overlooked or underestimated, can grant attackers unauthorized access to confidential files, potentially leading to devastating consequences. Imagine a house with many rooms, each containing valuable possessions. Path Traversal is like a thief finding a way to bypass the locked front door and gain access to every room, every secret, and every valuable within the house. This essay delves into the world of Path Traversal, explaining its mechanics, highlighting its potential impact, and providing practical steps to mitigate its risks. Whether you are a tech-savvy individual or simply someone concerned about online security, understanding Path Traversal is crucial in today's interconnected world. By shining a light on this often hidden threat, we can build a safer and more secure digital environment for everyone. Path Traversal, also known as directory traversal, is a web security vulnerability that allows attackers to read, and sometimes even write, files stored outside the intended web server's root directory. To understand this better, let's continue with our house analogy. The web server is like the house itself, containing various directories that act as rooms. Each room stores specific types of files representing valuable possessions. The web server's root directory is the main entrance, the designated access point for users. Path Traversal exploits flaws in a website's code, tricking the server into granting access beyond the root directory. It's like the thief finding a hidden passage or a loose window leading to restricted areas of the house. This vulnerability arises when a web application fails to properly sanitize user input, allowing attackers to manipulate file paths and access sensitive data. By understanding the nature of this vulnerability, we can begin to comprehend the severity of its potential impact. Let's illustrate how Path Traversal works with a practical example. Imagine a company website that allows users to download invoices. The website retrieves these invoices from a specific directory on the server, using the user's input to locate the correct file. A malicious actor discovers that the website's code does not properly validate user input. They realize they can manipulate the file path by inserting special characters such as .. which in file system navigation represents moving up one directory level. The attacker, instead of requesting a legitimate invoice file, crafts a malicious request like this. The .. sequence tricks the server into moving up one directory level, bypassing the intended invoice directory. By repeating this sequence multiple times, the attacker can potentially access the server's root directory and beyond, accessing sensitive files like system configuration files, database credentials, or even the website's source code. This example demonstrates the danger of Path Traversal and the importance of robust input validation in web application development. Attackers utilize various techniques to exploit Path Traversal vulnerabilities, often employing a combination of special characters and encoding methods to bypass security measures. One common approach involves using .. sequences, as shown in the previous example, to navigate up the directory structure. Attackers may also use URL encoding to obfuscate their malicious input. For instance, they might replace .. with its encoded equivalent %2, e%2e/, %2e, %2e%2f, to evade basic security filters that rely on simple pattern matching. Another technique involves exploiting variations in how different operating systems handle file paths. For example, attackers might use characters like \, typically used in Windows systems, to craft payloads that target specific servers. By understanding these manipulative tactics, developers can implement more effective security measures to prevent Path Traversal attacks. A URL gone rogue example of Path Traversal in action. Let's examine a real-world scenario where a seemingly harmless URL can be manipulated to exploit a Path Traversal vulnerability. Imagine a website hosting images in a publicly accessible directory. The URL structure for accessing these images is straightforward: https://www.example.com/images/image_name. JPG. A user wants to view an image named landscape.jpg and enters the following URL https://www.example.com/images/landscape.jpg. However, an attacker notices that the website might be vulnerable to path traversal. They modify the URL, inserting a malicious string https example.com images on etc. pass wd. In this manipulated URL, the WAD sequence aims to traverse up the directory structure, potentially reaching the system's root directory. The /etc/pass wd part specifies a file often found on Unix-like systems containing sensitive user account information. If the website is vulnerable, the server might process this malicious request, potentially granting the attacker access to the sensitive /etc/passwd file. This example highlights how a simple URL manipulation, if successful, can have severe consequences. Real-world repercussions. Path Traversal's costly history. Path Traversal vulnerabilities have plagued numerous organizations, leading to high-profile data breaches and significant financial losses. In 2014, a vulnerability in the popular web server software Apache Struts allowed attackers to execute arbitrary code on affected servers. This vulnerability was widely exploited, leading to data breaches at major companies and organizations worldwide. In 2019, a Path Traversal vulnerability in the content management system Drupal, known as Drupalgeddon 2, allowed attackers to take complete control of vulnerable websites. This vulnerability affected millions of websites and highlighted the importance of timely software updates and security patching. These examples demonstrate that Path Traversal is not merely a theoretical threat, but a real-world problem with potentially devastating consequences. Section 7. Prevention is key. Safeguarding against path traversal. Preventing path traversal attacks requires a multifaceted approach, focusing on secure coding practices, robust input validation, and regular security audits. Here's a checklist of essential measures to mitigate the risk of path traversal vulnerabilities. 1. Input validation. Implement strict input validation on all user-supplied data, including file names, paths, and URLs. Sanitize input to remove or escape special characters that could be used to manipulate file paths. 2. Parameterized queries. Use parameterized queries when interacting with databases or file systems to prevent attackers from injecting malicious code into SQL queries or file paths. 3. Principle of least privilege. Adhere to the principle of least privilege by granting web server processes only the necessary permissions to access specific directories and files. 4. Regular security updates. Keep all software, including web server software, content management systems, and plugins, up to date with the latest security patches to mitigate known vulnerabilities. By implementing these preventive measures, organizations can significantly reduce their attack surface and enhance their overall security posture against path traversal attacks. Section 8. Beyond the basics, additional security measures. In addition to the essential prevention steps, consider implementing these extra layers of protection. 1. Web Application Firewalls, WAFs. Deploy a WAF to filter malicious traffic and block requests containing suspicious patterns, such as multiple sequences in URLs. 2. Intrusion Detection and Prevention Systems, IDPS. Utilize IDPS solutions to monitor network traffic for suspicious activities, including attempts to exploit path traversal vulnerabilities. 3. Security audits and penetration testing. Conduct regular security audits and penetration testing to identify and remediate vulnerabilities in web applications and server configurations. 4. Security awareness training. Educate developers and security personnel on secure coding practices, common web vulnerabilities, and best practices for preventing path traversal attacks. Section 9. Conclusion. Staying ahead of the curve in cybersecurity. Path traversal, while a relatively simple concept, poses a significant threat to web application security. By understanding how this vulnerability works, recognizing its potential impact, and implementing robust preventive measures, we can effectively mitigate the risks associated with path traversal attacks. Cybersecurity is an ongoing process, requiring constant vigilance, adaptation, and a commitment to staying ahead of emerging threats. As technology advances and attackers develop more sophisticated techniques, it is paramount to prioritize secure coding practices, robust security measures, and ongoing education to ensure a safer and more resilient digital environment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more cybersecurity deep dives. This is Index Cyber. See you in the next one.